Hi, I'm Crystal with Crystal Clear Photography. I'm a brand photographer, strategist, content creator, and flat lay photography lover. I'm coming to you today on my vlog to talk to you about a few things. I wanted to discuss some boundaries when it comes to working with clients and time, money, and communication. So I think that these are three different areas that I have struggled a little bit within my business, and so I wanted to share with you some tips and things that I've learned and how I've brought myself to a point now where those things are less of a problem for me, and I have clear expectations and boundaries set with the clients and the people that I work with. That being said, this one is a little bit of a tough one for me. I kind of struggled back and forth with what I could talk to you about and how I could dive into it, because I think I can easily go in like a bunch of random tangents. So if you have questions, let me know. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I know your time is precious, but if something pops up and you're like, maybe I want you to elaborate a little bit more on this, or talk to me about this random tangent I just went on when I was thinking about what you said, leave me a comment. I'll respond back to you and happy to answer anything for you. So to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about time. And respecting your own time so that your clients will also respect your time and those boundaries. So set a schedule of work hours. And this, something I talked about last time with being overwhelmed. It also sets good expectations for your clients, because you can easily get overwhelmed or just run into a lot of issues with clients contacting you. Maybe they're contacting you on the wrong kind of platform that you don't prefer. Maybe they're contacting you at all hours of the day and you're really uncomfortable with that. Different things like that can kind of pop up in your business. So setting a schedule and expectations will not only just help you with the overwhelm, as I mentioned to you before, but it'll help you here in your business with the client's expectations, when they know they can reach out to you and when they can hear from you, so that you're not rushing to your phone to answer a text message right away, or you're not rushing to your email to respond to something because it's 10 o'clock at night, someone's emailed you and you feel like you have to respond to them right that moment. So that being said, set a schedule and have work hours. So this goes for all businesses. It doesn't just go for virtual businesses, it goes for everyone. So, break down your work. And if you have two separate types of work, like in my case, I do have my office work, which is all of the stuff that I do on my computer that has me sitting at my desk. And then I have my content creation side of things, where I'm actually shooting stuff, working with props or working with people and doing brand shoots. I've got two different segments. So what I've learned to do, and what I'm hoping that you will as well, is set boundaries for when I'm going to have my office hours and when I'm going to have my shoot hours. So now I have certain days and time frames in which I will work with people. We will do shoots together and work on those kinds of things. And then I have certain hours set throughout the week that I can send proposals, answer questions, do consult calls to discuss things that clients might have that come up, do strategy calls with other business owners and kind of help them with their content. I'm able to do all of those things at one time frame and keep those two things separate. It reduces my overwhelm, but it also sets an expectation for clients, so they know that, hey, Crystal's going to answer emails or be available to do phone calls between 9 and 2 on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, or Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or however you decide to structure that for yourself. And maybe it's that nap time window that your kiddo is asleep. For me, I just learned to set the expectation that for me, with my time, you're probably going to hear my kids running around in the background, that I'm happy to do a call for you, but that's part of my life and my business, so that's something that you can come to expect with working with me. You might hear my kiddos every once in a while. So fortunately right now, they're taking a nap. Woo! So that being said, let's keep going. So on time, another thing is just to be on time for yourself. If you're going to set boundaries and expectations for your clients, also respect those boundaries. If you are, telling a client that you're going to be on a call at 12 noon, be on a call at 12 noon. If you show up late, they don't respect you because you've showed up late and you didn't even set the expectation that you might. And then they're going to think it's okay to do the same. So then you might turn around and schedule a session with them for makeup or a trial session, or maybe it's just for a photo shoot or something. And they then think that they can show up late because you did the same. So set these boundaries, but make sure to respect your time and theirs, so that it sets a good expectation for both of you and your working relationship. And then setting these kinds of boundaries obviously is going to roll over into making your work life, I don't like to call it balance, but your work life time frames to be best. So what's it, and sorry, my phone was is trying to die on me, of course. But it's going to help you set those boundaries so that your family's happy. They don't feel like they're fighting for your time. When your kids are home, then you can focus on them as opposed to focusing on certain things with work that might, require your undivided attention. So set those time boundaries. Make sure to communicate that with the client and those expectations. That also rolls into my next thing, and that is communication. So deciding what's going to work best for you and your business when it comes to communication. There are so many platforms just between social media alone, but there are a lot of even communication platforms that are set up. There's, you've got obviously your text messages, you've got your emails, those are just basic, but direct messages through your social media platforms. There are tools now like Slack and Trello and all these other things that allow you to have other forms of communication. So a good thing for you would be to determine and set boundaries on communication and what's going to work for you so that your clients know how to reach you and how to talk with you and how to work with you best. So if you work off of your cell phone and you're comfortable with receiving text messages, then you can refer to that. If, for instance, you don't want to answer direct messages, but you don't want to seem like you're ignoring people, have, a message typed up that you can simply copy and paste when someone reaches out to you and says, hey, I want to talk to you about scheduling a session, or I want to talk to you about creating an order. You can reach out to them and simply say, hey, you know what? I am so happy that you want to work with me, and I really appreciate that. To make sure that I can answer you timely and get you all the information you need so that we can do just that, I want to have you shoot me a quick email so that I can reply back to you tomorrow morning when I'm back in the office working on emails. So you can set that expectation. People will start to come to understand it and respect it, and you'll find that they'll slowly stop messaging you on one platform and start transitioning over to how you prefer to have them communicate with you. Say your cell phone is an absolute no-go. You can also set up to have like a Google phone number that you can funnel calls through. You can also do that with Skype and Zoom. But if you don't want to mess with any of those type of platforms, but you just don't want any text messages or anything like that facilitated with your cell phone, then set that expectation for your clients. When they reach out to you, maybe they find you and they call you and they're like, hey, I'm looking forward to working with you. I'd like to talk to you about a quote or something. You let them know, hey, you know what? I appreciate you sending me that text message, but if you could shoot me an email, this is how I best communicate when it comes to my business. I'd be happy to send you over a proposal with all the information that you need, and then we can follow up by scheduling a phone call at a time that's convenient for both of us. So it's okay to set those boundaries and expectations with your communication. You can even do it with your team members and other business people that you work with. Let them know how it's best to communicate. Reinforce that so that it doesn't get out of control for you, and then you'll start to find that people will naturally fall into that and respect that boundary. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about real quick was cost. Respecting your cost, and all of these funnel in together. So time is money, right? Of course. So we talked about setting boundaries with your time, what your working hours are going to be, because you know exactly how long it's going to take for you to shoot and edit a session, to make the shirts with the cute sayings, and how long it's going to take for you to press them and go through that particular process, how long it's going to take for you to laser cut your hand calligraphy. You know the time that it's going to take. So time is money. So when you're considering your cost, set those boundaries and expectations. Break that down for that client. It also funnels into communication. See how I mentioned that this can go in like a bunch of different random tangents? So, but what I'm talking about is just considering your experience, considering the factors and things that go into your pricing, and how you can talk to the client about what to expect when it comes to your cost. And so with me, I've got some variables. So for instance, with my stock photography, there's a lot of variables with that. So what I do is I set the expectation with the client that my pricing will start at this number, because that's about the standard time it would take for me to do a shoot. But there are some other variables and factors, and I communicate that so that people aren't caught off guard by all of a sudden receiving an increased invoice or increased quote. I let them know that there are some variables in mind. with things like props. So if they're wanting fresh florals, that's going to be a cost that the client's going to have to cover. If they're going to want certain props that are tailored specific to their brand as opposed to some of the ones that are a little more generalized that I can have in my stock shop, then the client's going to help pay for those kinds of things. I also let them know that they can set budgets and things like that as well. So they can say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna give you an extra $100 as a prop budget, not to exceed that. And then I make sure that they know that I'm going to provide them with receipts to justify that cost so that they don't feel like they're just paying for something that they're not getting. So when it comes to cost, it funnels into your time and your communication as well. So make sure that when you're doing that, you take the opportunity to also lay out a contract. A lot of us feel like, ooh, if I have a contract, people aren't going to want to sign that. It's going to be uncomfortable. I felt the same way when I started doing photography sessions. I was like, I don't want to have a contract. I feel like people are going to think it's like, you know, they're going to have questions, or they're going to, you know, not want to sign off on it or not want to do it. And that's not the case. So set out a contract, lay out your time, let the client know the cost and everything that you're putting into it so that they respect that pricing, they understand the value that you're providing them, they'll respect those boundaries. You can also lay out the communication. So if you're a business coach, you can put in your communication, hey, you know, I want you to know that you can communicate with me asking questions through this particular platform, or you can email me, or so forth. So take into consideration all of those things that I've said. Think about your time, set your boundaries with your time, set your working hours, know what's going to work for you. It'll make your family happy, it'll make you happy, you can get things done in your business. Your clients will start to respect that. Consider the communication, what's going to work for you, how do you want clients to communicate with you and interface with you in your business, what platforms are going to work, what platforms are not going to work. And then consider rolling that into an agreement so that you can include things like your cost and setting boundaries with your cost and your time frame and how much is going to go into what you're providing as a service or a product to the clients and people that you're working with. So hopefully those have helped you. Those were, again, just some things that came to mind that I struggled with in my business that I've learned to fine tune over the last year and a half. And I wanted to share those with you so that hopefully you can learn from some of the mistakes that I made starting off my business so that yours is more successful going forward. That being said, as I mentioned to you now for the third time, this can kind of go in different tangents. So if a question came up or something that you wanted to ask me or have me elaborate on, leave me a comment, let me know. I'm happy to further elaborate on considering time and cost and other boundaries within your business so that you are happy and everyone else is happy as well. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.